It's another week and another brand new episode here on the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm your host, RubyLynne. Before we go much farther, make sure you hit that bell and get notified, and of course, hit subscribe. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. If you'd like to follow me, your host, you can go to rubylynne.bio, B-I-O, and that's all things Ruby. I'm super excited for this week's guest. I have an industry expert attorney, and he's going to talk to us this week about age verification laws, contract language, and why you should get everything in writing always. So help me welcome Nick Zargapour. Nick, I'm so excited to have you on the Granny Panty Podcast this week. Thank you for making the time to come on.
Thank you very much, Ruby.
I have kind of been chatting with you on and off. I always see you at events, but I really wanted to have you on to kind of highlight your work with adult industry. And so I'm excited to kind of hear about the things that you're working on.
As an industry lawyer?
Yes.
Well, basically, people think law is this magic little black box, and then people have to figure out what's going on and all that stuff. No, it's not like that. It's just pretty much industry lawyer is the same thing as an outside of the industry lawyer, except we know the extra layer that go into it for the industry people that people have to worry about that,
Right.
Let's say others in other industries do not have to worry about it. Every industry, you go into real estate, they have their own requirements. Oh, you got to
Right.
sign with a blue ink, or and then we need the 2257. We need, to make sure that the talent feels comfortable on set. We need to make sure that there's there's enough protections for both the producer and for the talent on every set to make sure that we do that. So it's when you deal with someone that's an industry attorney, the industry attorney knows some of the issues that can come up.
Yeah, and I think also that there's not that stigma or judgment either. If you go to an attorney who's not familiar with your work, I have a feeling there could be some stigma. And so
Yeah,
what
it could
are
definitely be.
what are the most common legal issues that individuals in the adult industry face, things that you help people with?
There is, okay, well, you change the facts, you change the law, so you have to always be aware of that. One of the things that I'm dealing with creators, or if I'm dealing with a production company, or sometimes I'm doing, right now I'm working on a collaboration agreement that's for creators to basically collaborate with other creators. So everything is different. For creators, what we primarily have to do is we have to do the agreements between them and other collaborators, review their AI agreements that are pretty popular going around right now. Although I got to tell you, some of them are really, really bad out there. Please, please, please do not just sign AI agreements with anyone because you could be giving away your name, image, likeness, and sound rights to someone else in perpetuity. Now, let's say, there's like 10 different companies that are doing AI right now.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that if what if you give up your rights to one of the industry smaller ones, one of the smaller people in the industry, or someone that maybe eventually may go out of business or may sell their rights that they have to another company. Now your name, image, and likeness, is now trapped and captured with this area in this AI company that may never basically amount to anything. And you can't go if let's say tomorrow there becomes a bigger, company that becomes more popular like we have in the industry. There's plenty of companies that are the bigger boys, and then there's a smaller, like the seven dwarfs, and then the big boy in there. Okay, so you have that. Okay, so So what you want to do is you want to make sure that that you are able to, if you need to, get out of that contract and go into another contract. That really is what you have to be the most careful about on these AI contracts. Now, let's move on from there. Another issue that I get for creators is, oh my God, landlord-tenant issues.
Oh,
I've had landlord-tenant
yeah.
issues. I've had it where the talent is not the smartest and goes in there and is shooting content in the public jacuzzi
Oh,
of the
gosh.
unit,
Okay.
and that's not smart to do, not at
Wow.
all. You can basically have, forget the landlord, you can have criminal
Mhm.
issues. You can have, you can be basically
Right.
registered as a sex offender when you're having, or exposing yourself in public.
Right.
So that's one of the things that you got to be very careful about. But also, I've had it where, like, a tenant, another tenant finds out what my client does and doesn't want
Oh,
my client
no.
anywhere near them. And so basically goes out of her way, usually to her, got
Mhm.
out of her way to try to make life as miserable as possible for my client. And then
Wow.
we basically have to go in there and we have to do all kinds of stuff,
Okay.
okay, to try to say, no, you can't get rid of them. There's no justification. They're not making too much noise. They're not doing any of
Mhm.
that stuff. And we just have to fight there and basically go in there and make sure that we protect our client as much as to the best ability we have. Another issue that comes up for creators has always been, this is an interesting one. They come back and um, they come back and they say things like, "Oh, Bob was saying this about me," and Steve is complaining about Bob saying something about him, and Steve is like, like, this is ridiculous. This is slander. This is libel. This is,
Gotcha.
defamation. You're doing this. You're doing all of that to me, and we've had, several of those matters that come
Mhm.
across our desk, and I can tell you that when we dig more into it,
Mhm.
um, you know, uh, there's not never as bad as it seems,
Okay.
but for the person at that time, they're very upset. Not always, there are some egregious examples. There's one
Mhm.
example I can think of right now that really pissed me off, and was attacking my client for no reason, and we had proof of that one.
Okay. Okay.
But what people have to understand on situations like that is and then here's a little bit of a pro tip here for you for your listeners. Yeah, I'm gonna mark them as pro tips because that's what I do when I teach my
I love
classes.
it.
Yeah. So the pro tip is, if someone is saying something about you, try to get if it's in writing, make sure you do the
Mhm.
screenshots. Make sure you get the date, the
Right.
time, the platform, everything in there so that you can make sure that you are able to protect yourself, okay? And
Mhm.
be able to have proof, of this libelous statement that is being made about you. By the way, the libel and slander, libel is written, slander is verbal. Think of it for S for speech and L for literal.
I love that.
So think of it that way. But
Okay.
so we find that people are, it's not never, like, not never, but a lot of times it's not as bad as you think it is,
Mhm.
but if it is passes a certain line, we absolutely can slam them and slam them hard.
Wow.
Okay, as far as what they're doing or what they're saying.
Okay.
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 So that's it. Now, as far as a production company, which some talent is going towards production, as
Mhm.
far as a production company is concerned, we basically do terms and conditions for their websites. We do the agreements with the
Nice.
talent. We do all kinds of different agreements as far as distribution. We review a lot of contracts to see
Mhm.
whether someone should or should not, enter into an advertising agreement with this one, or white label uh, agreement. We
Right.
review all of those agreements and try to address it.
Okay.
Okay.
One question
Another
I
thing
had. Oh, go ahead.
so no, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, before we get too further, when you talked about the landlord tenant thing, what came to my mind was the Airbnb issues. So if I
Hmm.
rented an Airbnb that said no professional photography, but yet I chose to film some scenes, take some pictures, I mean, is there really any repercussion by the Airbnb host? or not? Is it just a bunch of lingo that prices
Well,
are very low?
here's an interesting one for you. Before Airbnb, I was associated with a case that someone had rented their house for a shoot. Okay.
Okay.
And the shoot was shot, no issues.
Mhm.
Everyone got their money, and the place was left clean, and everyone left. But the guy who rented out his house was an attorney.
Oh.
And then he sues the production company saying that the pictures you had in the background were my wife's copyrighted artwork.
Oh. And is that kind of where this all came from originally for
But
Airbnb or no?
no, no, it just is interesting that you have to be careful about
Yeah.
that. Now, I
Yeah.
didn't go too far into that case. I don't know whether, he had the rights or not.
Right.
I didn't check the legal aspects of it. But he was creating some kind of an issue. So if you are in an
Mhm.
Airbnb, just make sure there's no artwork behind you. Obviously, make sure there's no trademarks.
Sure.
You don't want to be going in there with a certain swoosh logo on your clothing.
Right.
Those things have all got to be covered up. Okay,
Okay.
because the trademark holder can stop your production and can claim that you are basically, showing their trademark in bad light and
Okay.
for a business purpose.
Okay. But when it says no for professional photography, is that just a bunch of I mean, should we heed that, or is it really if we're
I
not?
think you should heed the agreement. I mean, as a lawyer, well, I'm not going to tell you to break your agreement. I mean, I'm not going to say that. I mean, come on, Rubes. You're not going to be doing that. But, it all depends on that
Mm,
landlord. It all
sure.
depends on that owner of that property or the person who's leasing the property and subleasing it to you guys. If they want to be hard nosed about it and create a problem for you, they will create a problem for you. If they don't want to do that, just say, whatever, we can't even tell whether this is our bedroom and or not our bedroom or whatever. Okay, then they're probably not going to do anything. They have to have something distinctive, though, that distinguishes it from one room to the next. I mean, I don't think someone can come back and say, "Oh, look at the pattern of my bedposts."
Yeah.
Unless it's very ornate and it's
Right.
got,
Unique.
snakes going up the
Mhm.
side, or the headboard has a very unique design or things like that. It's going to be hard for them to claim that, oh, look, that vinyl soft, brown, was my obviously it was my bedroom and was shot in my bedroom, and you're basically creating problems. But then you still have the breach of contract agreement, breach of contract issue.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Thought I'd check in on that.
Hmm. No problem.
So what are some key legal protections that or steps performers should take to protect themselves and their content? I know you were kind of leading into it about contracts and stuff like that. Is there?
In writing,
Yeah.
in writing, get things in writing. It's
Mhm.
so amazing to me how you have super smart people. By the way, this industry has some really super smart people, great business men and women.
Mhm.
So I found more of the women, some of the really smart women in the industry. Um, Super smart business people, but they sometimes are told, and someone dangles a little,
Right.
little carrot, a little
Dollar
and
sign?
it's true. Well, sometimes it's dollar sign, sometimes
Yeah.
it's fame. Oh, I want you to be in
Yeah.
my, movie that's going to go a mainstream movie. So, but
Mhm.
for that, you have to fly out to this city on your
Mhm.
own dime. Participate. At least give me a week of your time,
Mhm.
and I'm going to give you, 20% of the net profits of this business.
Mhm.
All done What agreement?
Right.
What email? Nothing. Everything is done verbally.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful about that because, people are thinking, oh, fame, I'm going to be famous. It's going to be my first mainstream movie, or it's going to be my first mainstream shoot, or
Mhm.
whatever. And they give up all of that stuff. Or I'm going to give you 20% of whatever we make as a net,
Right.
in the movie. And even if the movie is successful, I can tell you that Hollywood is so good at hiding every penny that they have. You'll never make $1 off of a net. That's why you always want a percentage of the gross
Yeah.
income made by the movie or the
There you go.
project. You don't
Mhm.
want that. And you want everything in writing. Okay.
Right.
It's better. I mean, don't you want to know if think of it as a relationship? Okay,
Mhm.
don't you want to know that this person is the proper person for you to get into a relationship with
Right.
before you invest too much time into it?
Right.
Okay, well, in a business dealing, put something in writing.
Yeah.
Whatever was promised to you, put it in an email. Be very detailed.
Mhm.
Send it at the time that the discussion took place. Like, let's say we had a discussion today, put it in that discussion. You promised me this.
Yeah.
And if it is, please confirm. And if it's not, please confirm by a reply email.
Right.
Send an email. Okay? Get them to respond somehow to say that,
Mhm.
yeah, it is what I promised you. At
Yeah.
the very least, now you have an email created at the time where
Right.
it was where you know what your rights are, where you know what someone now I'm definitely lacking from a full agreement. I'd rather have
Mhm.
this than a full, I'd rather have a full agreement where it's written out what is gross income, what is, how much screen time you're going to get, and
Right.
are they going to
Right.
reimburse you for your costs? Are you going to reimburse you for this? And of course, I'm not sure if you better know this person because otherwise, are they going to take advantage of you if you show up all of a sudden in a strange town and you're by yourself and you're a man or a woman, you don't want to be in a advisor. You show up to set and there's like 10 people there and none of them
Yeah.
you may
Yeah.
put yourself in a dangerous situation. So um, there's gotta be some protection for you, and that I think contractually is very important. And also, then you have to think, think with your head, and think with your head, not your heart, about I want to be famous, I want to be in a mainstream movie, I want to. They're gonna give me $10,000, for this thing. No, 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 no.
Well, also for me, even on collaborations I do with other creators, who do I want having my content just
Mhm.
at their disposal too, to post or to
Yeah.
do it, whatever. Me personally, I really vet my collaboration partners
Hmm.
because I want to know who's going to have my naked video, forever. So
Sure. Sure.
I would think it's
Absolutely.
the same thing about a company.
Yeah. Absolutely. You in a collaboration agreement, it's a little different. Collaboration, you both agree to basically post it at no cost, perform, no cost to either one, and then from some of them, let's say you pay for it, Ruby, and you are the one who is going to say, I control it, I have the copyright, rights to it, and then other ones are that, look, we're collaborating, we both have the copyright rights to it, and you just monetize it the way you want to monetize it, and I monetize it the way I want to monetize it.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
we'll both monetize it the way we want to monetize it. So funny, I just got a call from a client of mine who I'm working a collaboration agreement for. But anyways, her ears must be burning. But so that's one of them. But then there's other ones where the person is she is going to make more money off of this than this guy will.
And yeah,
And
which is
and then
typical.
and then she says, but so I'm going to advance all the expenses. I'm going to advance everything. You're going to give me 4 months worth of exclusivity on this thing. I'm going to sell it for 4 months. And then after 4 months, you get to sell it on your website too or your platforms. But you can't do it until a certain period of time because I've got to recoup my expenses before you you recoup your time or
Before you
for your
sell it for $8.99, right?
yeah, exactly. And again, that has to be in writing because if it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
I had a dispute that got really, really nasty. One of the first cases I handled in the industry, as a matter of fact, was really nasty. It was about this collaboration. A girl was shooting collaboration with another girl performer and her boyfriend, and they had agreed to to sell it for a certain price, on their
Mhm.
respective platforms. Well, the other girl comes in there and sells it for less.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that created a huge dispute and some really bad allegations, which I had to investigate and make sure there was no such allegations. And I did, and it was something that and it started over what over like a $4 difference in price of
Right.
selling
Right.
uh, content, which is just silly. And that's another thing I guess I have to give advice on. I put it on another podcast I was
Pro
in,
tip.
and I said that don't believe everything, do not believe everything that you that you hear. That not every person has done. There's allegations being made all the time. You need to investigate it. Just please investigate
Right.
before you draw and quarter the person. Because I've heard allegations against women performers, I've heard allegations against men performers, and I've had to investigate some. So you got to make sure that the facts are correct.
Yeah.
You just
And
don't.
there's always 3 sides to every story, right?
Yep. You know what judges say? The three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, that's right. What about, what kind of advice can you give creators who might be approached for brand deals? Like, for instance, a brand wants to consult with them about a product that they want to design. Um, what advice do you have for people like that?
Read the agreements. There are, again, some bad agreements there.
Hmm.
You got to watch out for things where you are. I mean, and by the way, one thing I know everyone thinks, oh my God, these lawyers, they write, they do all of these things. They're so crazy. They're just always fighting over every single word and everything because every word matters.
Yeah,
Okay. But if I had to just do a thumbnail, and again, this is not legal advice. Okay. By the way,
sure.
one thing we have to say, everyone,
Yes, I
because
will
you
put
change the
that.
facts, you change the law, and this is
Yeah.
not legal advice. But you look for certain things.
Hmm.
Okay, you look for certain um, language in there. Like, am I going to give up my name, image, and likeness rights forever and ever? What is the termination date of this agreement?
Right.
Where's the venue if I want to stop this person from? Let's say they breach the agreement. They agree. They say, "I want." I don't know. For example, I want to, have your name on this product. Let's say
Hmm.
I want to put your name on this product, and okay, now you find out that the product is defective and the product is breaking
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
electrocuting people and it's like not
Yep.
working right and they get 1 star on Amazon and 1 star in every other platform and this product's got your image on top of it.
Right.
Hello, okay. Is there a way for you to get out of it? And also another thing, you guys, and this is where people screw up a lot, is the venue. Where are you going to go after them? That's
Gotcha.
why
Is
the
it safe, you
agreement.
mean, or what?
It says, look, for example, most agreements should say, if there's a dispute between the parties, we
Mhm.
are going to meet, we are going to describe it in Los Angeles Superior Court, for example, which is where I'm
Okay.
located.
Right.
Los Angeles Superior Court, and California law will apply. How long does it take me to put a sentence like that in a contract?
Right.
How long?
And I think that's in a standard model agreement too. I think,
It
in
is,
a
this isn't a standard model agreement, but it takes 10 seconds to write it.
right.
That 10 seconds saves you hours and hours
Mhm.
of trying to find someone, find the right courthouse, sue
Right.
them. I have a case right now in San Diego that my client, for some reason, they had the whole term sheet. This is outside of the industry. They had the
Mhm.
whole term sheet of what they need to do. And for some reason, that line about Los Angeles Superior Court came out. Okay.
So
When
now
it
you got to
came
go to
out,
San Diego, right?
now my client has to pay me to get in the car, drive there for trial, get a
Yeah.
5 nights of hotel rooms, things like that,
Mhm.
over a 10-second line.
That's a good point. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought?
A lawyer?
I know, because I always put Oregon, where I'm from. But maybe I ought to put it where I know there are lawyers I want to use.
No, there is no, you just can't pick venues just out of the blue. Like you
Yeah,
can't say, okay, I'm in, your state, and
right.
and you're in California, and so we're going to go to Nova Scotia, Canada, to do it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it has to
Okay.
make sense.
I mean, I've seen agreements like that. I've seen
Mhm.
agreements like that, but it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can put that kind of language in there,
Hmm.
but it's going to be hard to enforce it with a judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about well, the elephant in the room is always the age verification laws. Can you speak to that and just maybe where you see things being impacted or
Okay. We're May 5th, so we got another 36 days before we should find out about the age
Mhm.
verification laws being legal or not. Okay.
Okay.
At this point, if I was representing someone, and again, this is not legal advice,
Mhm.
I would say, if you're a big platform, if you're a platform, any platform, I would, block out all those states where you're not doing it, or try to come back. Unfortunately, it does, and this is a backhanded way for the the people that are anti-industry, let's say,
Mhm. Mhm.
to come in and try to basically block um, the industry.
Ugh,
Okay, this is
yeah.
a backward way. It's equivalent to when I believe it was Texas, where Texas was passing all these laws. Texas
Mhm.
or Florida, I don't remember, where it said that if any clinic wants to perform an abortion, they have to have a doctor on site. The hallways have to be 14 feet wide. The the doors have to be this big,
Yeah.
and it has to have all of these
Wow.
requirements that really had nothing to do with the act being performed, but they are basically trying to make it technically impossible
Impossible.
for
Yeah.
the clinics to perform. I think it was Texas, actually, now that I think about it.
I
So
had
that's
no
what they're trying to
idea.
do with age verification. And unfortunately, some of the older fans, are going to be intimidated. They don't want to give their
Sure.
driver's license. They don't want to give their identity, and the younger ones too. And they're going to be just technically intimidated because before it was just a matter of
Right.
signing up, getting a confirming email, maybe a text, your text with a verification code,
Mhm.
and then you go online. But now it's like, oh, I have to put my driver's license. I have to stand them in my face and go like this, do all of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I get identified and verified and everything like that. And it's just, it's not going to protect the kids. The kids, whoever wants to get access to it, they're going to get
They're
access to
gonna
it.
figure
It's
it
just a
out.
matter of trying to, as a backhanded way of trying to, try to destroy, try to hinder the industry.
What date is that? Is that June 15th? Or when is that date?
I don't know when the last opinion from the Supreme Court comes out, but it's usually I think by the first or second week of June. All of it's going to get fast and furious pretty soon. The term starts in I think first Monday in October, and then ends
Mhm.
in the second week in June.
Okay.
So for first or second week in June, God, I don't know. It's like I'm studying my old age. I'm starting to forget these non-critical facts. But that's what they are. They
Yeah.
come in there and things like they say things like, yeah, all of the rulings that the Supreme Court have heard that
Mhm.
usually should come out by website, to be safe, June 15th will be
Okay.
when all the rulings will come out on age verification, on pretty much every other big thing. But there's also this whole shadow docket that is going on in the Supreme Court, and I'm not going to go into that. But
Yeah.
all these last minute cases that come up, and the justices have to rule on.
Mm, interesting. Well, I'm sure we're all going to be watching.
Yes. Again, there is
Mm-hmm.
no one, especially people in the industry, don't want you know um, kids to have access and definitely not be involved. Okay, period. End of story. I
Absolutely.
mean, no one wants that. And unfortunately, the anti industry people, what they
Mhm.
want to do is they want to basically use any which way to subterfuge
Yeah.
and try to basically make it more difficult and making everyone jump through more hoops, kind of like the way they try to do it in Texas with the abortion thing.
Jeez. Ah, well, I guess we'll just keep our eyes out and see what we can do and or what's
Hmm.
going to happen anyway.
Yeah, my dad always said, "Do your best, leave the rest."
That's right. So one last question I had is when someone's looking for a lawyer, such as yourself, in the industry to represent them,
Hmm.
what are some of the red flags or things that they should look for?
Okay. First of all, I would this is advice for any business person trying to
Hmm.
hire anyone trying to hire any lawyer. Okay, not just business people. If this is an immigration issue, if it's a criminal issue, if it's anything like
Yeah.
that, you want a lawyer who returns your phone calls sooner rather than later. By law, they in California, lawyers are required to reasonably return the phone call at a reasonable time. That doesn't mean you call and they call you back in 5 minutes, but they have to return your call. Now, if you start calling them, every hour on the hour, obviously you change the facts, you change the law. It's not going to really affect, that's not going to affect them. So you want someone that you feel comfortable with. You always have to feel comfortable with the person that you're working with. Now, number two thing, and this is another red flag issue, is if this lawyer doesn't send you a written retainer agreement. Very important to get a written retainer agreement that lays out for you what is expected from the lawyer,
Okay.
okay, and what is expected from you.
Okay.
Very important. If you don't get a written retainer agreement, I would not hire that lawyer because that is a huge red flag.
Yeah, I would think so.
I would avoid, actually, personally, I would avoid. I think a red flag is anyone you try to get into a business with
Hmm.
who doesn't put anything in writing.
Yeah. I'm seeing the
Okay.
importance of that. I mean, I
It's very
always
important.
have, but wow, even
No, but I mean, think about it. I mean, think about it, Ruby. You're doing like the whole collaboration, or earlier when we
hmm
said like someone wants to say, oh, come in here and do this movie and blah blah blah. We'll
right.
we'll, we'll take care of it. You become famous based on this thing. You always want to read the agreement that they send you, or have a lawyer that understands it to read it.
Hmm.
Um, and you always want to make sure. So the law is the same thing. I mean, you don't want to be going in there and sending, a few
Right.
$1,000s to a lawyer
Hmm.
who is just going to get the money and disappear. And now you got to chase after your money against a lawyer who knows the legal aspect of things better than you do.
Hmm.
Okay? Get something in writing and read it. By the way, one more thing. I don't care how bad your education was. I don't care about, whether you were, you got D's in school. If you read basic English, I know our agreement is written in basic English. We even provide a table of contents so you can find things easily in it. But the more of these you read, the more
Yeah.
contracts you read, the more your brain and your eyes will get used to it.
Hmm.
Right? You hit a big word, you circle it, uh,
Yeah.
and you basically check it online, see what that big word means. And by the time you read 4, 5, 6, 7 of these agreements, guess what? Your brain will kind of understand what you're
Right.
reading.
Right.
You'll figure it out. or at least on the first couple, consult with a lawyer and just basically find out, and we'll educate you. If you're willing to sit there with me,
Mhm.
I'll sit there with you and we'll do a Zoom and we'll go line by line and I'll explain every line to you.
That's
It
cool.
costs you more the first time, but the second and third
Yeah.
and fourth time you save money because you now understand what venue clause is. You understand what the attorney's fees clause is. You understand what all of these things are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, luckily I haven't had to hire an attorney too many times. um,
Lawyers are like nuclear weapons. You got to have one. You just hope you never use it.
yeah, yeah. My last attorney I had to hire was in the UK because I had a UK stalker, so I had to have somebody who was
Oh,
licensed there.
nice.
Yeah, so
Wow. Well, what's
that
he
was
gonna,
fun.
but I mean, was he gonna come here and harm you?
Well,
Has he
yeah,
threatened?
so it was actually a fan who had met me in person before,
Mm,
and
yeah, you have to be
some
very careful about those
somehow
people.
I got doxxed. That's, it's a whole nother story. But
Yeah,
anyway,
there are laws
it
against doxing now, so most states have laws against doxing.
yeah.
Yeah, so you can, if you file a lawsuit, you
Hmm.
can get subpoena power. And with the subpoena power, you can go in there and you can find a lot more information from whatever website there is that has provided your information.
Yeah, interesting. In my situation, uh, I was gonna say when you were talking about screenshots and documentation, uh, I keep everything. I never erase an email or, text message or that kind of thing. And so it was a pretty cut and dried case, let's put it that way.
Okay, good,
But
good. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, there are some unstable people.
yes, there are, and
I did
you
get
don't see it
contacted by a guy
coming.
that was quite interesting.
When you
I
don't
get
see it
contacted by a
coming,
guy who said,
yeah.
I got contacted by a guy who said the following. He said, I'm trying to think of exactly what he said. He basically said that his girlfriend for the last 2 years he paid a lot of money to, and this girlfriend didn't, to created a lot of content for him, and then took all the videos and never gave it to him. But he paid for it, and he needs to have those. Those are his content. And to which I'm like, okay, this sounds really weird. And to which I found out that he was just a subscriber
Oh,
to a website where he just gave money to this girl who wasn't even in this country, who
oh
didn't
wow,
even wasn't even a resident of this country, and was not your girlfriend, was just a service provider. And when you got too creepy, they basically blocked you off of
right.
that platform. And that platform did the right thing, well, blocked you from that. And now he wanted to hire me to go after the girl and the
Oh my
platform to get
gosh.
his money back.
Oh my gosh.
It was a
I can
short
only
phone call.
imagine the stories you hear.
It's a short phone call. We get these are not. I mean, if I had more time, I'll tell you some crazy ones.
Well, I do want to honor your time because I promised you not much more than 30 minutes out of your day. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be on. Tell people how to contact you if they'd like to use your services.
Sure. Our website is wearethehammer.com. And or you can just basically look for Zargapour, which is a hard name, Zargapour, attorney, and then usually will come up pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah,
Our website will
awesome.
come up. You can contact us.
I have your name staring at me every day. One thing, when I really chatted with you at length at XBiz this year,
Hmm.
which I really commend you for being there because I know you were affected by the fires, and you didn't let that stop you from being at that conference. And
I needed a break. I
I
needed a
think that
break. I
just
needed
shows
a
your
distraction.
professionalism and your strength. And so I really commend you for that.
Thank you.
But what I love is your swag. And I said, I didn't know who you were when I got in this industry, but I tell you what, that phone holder, I don't go anywhere. I travel with that thing. It's perfect.
Good.
But
Well, next
yes,
time I'll see you, I'll give you another one so you can have one in your travel luggage and then the other one just for
cool.
the
I
home.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. Thanks for all of the information and your pro tips.
You're welcome.
And I can't wait for this episode to come out.